What is up, my friends, and welcome to another video. Today's going to be a bit of a special video. I just came back from Poland from a $10,000 tournament in Krakow. In that tournament, I had a really good series against uLaser, who is, I believe, the 4th best Zerg in Europe as of this moment. And I thought it'd be a really cool idea to give you guys a little more of an in-depth video on how exactly I come up with strategies and moves that I use to destroy Grandmasters, or in this case, even pros, right? So in this series, I'm going to be doing 3 different builds. They're all going to be very tailored to defeat uLaser's build that he likes to do specifically. And I'm going to explain to you guys how I come to, certain strategies, like why I would do this against what he does and mind games and stuff like that. So first of all, one thing that I've always done a lot is just meta game a bunch. Like I like to do very specific strategies, even if they might be a little more stupid to do, like generally speaking. When I know it's going to work against a certain strategy, I tend to just go all in on that. I've always done this on the ladder as well. So for example, this is a best of 5 series. I know my opponent, I know him quite well, so it's going to be a bit easier for me to do specific strategies. When you play on the ladder, you can do this as well, but it's a bit more, you either need to know the opponent, played against him before, or what in my case I like to do back in the day was to use the current meta game. So I'm going to pause here real quick so I can touch on the build as well. A good example of that would be when I played against Protoss. Theoretically, you can make an Adept, a Stalker, a Sentry, whatever first unit you want, and still go for a Stargate. But I knew that back in the day, that is a couple years ago, now it's slightly different. When Protoss players would make 2 Adepts, they would almost always go for a Stargate. So even though it's not a must, you can go for 2 Adepts and then go for a Twilight Council. I knew that 90% plus at a time on the ladder, if they would go for 2 Adepts, they would go for a Stargate. So I would use that information to counter the Stargate, because 90% of the time that would be the right decision, right? So you can take some risks there, but they can be calculated and you can make the right decisions here. Now, uLaser is a very special player in the way that he doesn't adapt that much within a single series. He tends to kind of perfect a build. He practices a build super hard, hammers it down, and then he's going to do it over and over with little adaptation. So for this series, I really was just intending to hammer on the weaknesses of the strategy that I knew he would play. A little bit of backstory here is that I played him in the Home Story Cup a month before this, and I won 2-0 by doing a Proxy Reaper in game 1 and Mass Reaper in game number 2. Mass Reaper wasn't a weakness at all. I kind of just won that game by accident, to be honest. The Proxy Reaper was a weakness of his build because he tends to play gasless. So there's a lot of ways you can play against a gasless Zerg. You're going to see a bunch of those in this video. But one of the ways that I haven't actually seen abused a lot at all is to go for the Proxy Reaper. And the main reason is that you don't get link speed. So the only real answer is to go for roaches, but then you still have to make the gas. As you can see, the Overlord arrives at your base at about 2 minutes, depending on the size of the map. They're not going to be able to react early at all. So at this point, he still doesn't have gas, and I think that's going to be a very strong start. I feel like I don't want to say you should win 100% because I just don't have enough games in this scenario. In fact, I think this is the first game, so it really is a lot of theory here. But I do think you should probably win this scenario every single time if, I'm just going to give that a big if before you guys get annoyed at yourself, if the map is good enough. Like there's one map where there's no Reaper Cliff and they only can go in the front. They can make a Spine Crawler here and still go for a pretty good defense, right? So the map has to be good. There's still some defenses that they can go for. For example, let's say Creep Tumor over here and then a Spine over here as well. Like there's a bunch of play. I definitely don't think it's 100% win, but in this case, I thought it was going to be a good strategy. Now, the most important thing with the Reaper strategy here is that you just keep all of them alive, even if you have to back off a little more. This game, my theory got proven to me because this game went very well for me and I didn't actually micro it well. I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose some more Reapers, as this game goes on. Well, ideally you lose 0. Sounds crazy. It's actually possible when you play in this scenario. This Reaper is getting pretty low HP, so for the micro is pretty good. This bunker is also something I only did because we're playing against gasless. Normally you want to do damage really fast. Here, I knew he wasn't going to have link speed, so I can actually just buy time forever and do stuff like this, have like a little safe bastion at the front. As you can see, this build is completely all in. You can see the worker count down below here. 13 workers. Not a single extra worker build, not even an orbital command, by the way. Literally just enough to afford 3 Reapers for my barracks, and that's about it. So the way you want to play this in this scenario is that you just kind of want to jump back and forth. Like, once again, there's no link speed, so, you know, you don't have to hurry too much. You can just go wherever the queens aren't, pretty much. So you go back to the front, and then you can go back up this Reaper cliff again, over and over and over. And even in the scenario that links are popped up onto the high ground, here, okay, I'm going to be honest here, my micro wasn't that fantastic. What you can do here is just hold position these Reapers, click one Reaper on the high ground, drop a grenade, jump back down. I make it sound like it's very simple. It's actually not that easy. Then after you put the grenade, you jump up with another one. The lings are going to bounce away, and you get vision to shoot from the low ground. Here, I didn't actually do that too well. I don't know if this was it the first game of it? No, it was the first game of the loser bracket for me. I was still a little bit jumpy, wasn't entirely comfortable in the setup and stuff, so the micro here was not the best I've ever done, but since, once again, I've said it like 100 times already, since there's no link speed, it's just going to go a little better for me. Now, as you can see, I did lose a couple of Reapers. This was actually a bit unfortunate. Actually, I didn't even lose it. I thought it was going to be unfortunate. I tried to click the Reaper out to the low ground, but it simply didn't want to. At this point, we are going up against 2 queens. One important tip against Zerg where you do these kind of builds is you do want to try and keep the queen count low, because transfuses are extremely strong. I think I've killed 2 or maybe 3 queens so far. If he had those queens, more and more transfuses would be coming online, and it is very hard to ever jump on top of the queens. Reapers and queens have, I think, the same range, right? Is that correct? I don't want to be lying to you guys. I think they have the same range, so if they have enough transfuses, you're just going to end up standing in the queens for too long, and it's going to hurt. Now, at this point, the reason why I jumped by, or ran by, whatever you want to call it, is because I didn't know link speed was still this far away. As you can see, it's like another, I think that's about 70 seconds off or so. I thought it might finish any time now, so I really wanted to get a good fight going before link speed would finish. Here you can see some subpar micro by me. Sometimes I'm very happy with my micro. This time I wasn't. Last queens do seem to be falling, and now this game is just effectively over because I was able to get into the base. He can't keep me from the high ground anymore. Link speed is far away. And I think this game was a very good showcase that my build works against his build, because once again, the micro really wasn't perfect. I think I lost 2 SCVs probably, right? So that's 12 Reapers going down. I think this game, looking at how it went, it probably could have been as little as 5 or maybe even less Reapers, so that was not perfect. But the first strategy worked perfectly. It was a simple cheese. Always really enjoyable to start a series with a cheese because it puts you in a good mood and the opponent on a bad mood, right? So it sets the tone for the series very nicely. Let's go to game number 2. Okay, game number 2 is not going to be as brutal of a cheese as game number 1, but it's definitely still going to be cheesy. And for this game, I'm going to dive into his build order a little more. So I mentioned in game 1 that he doesn't tend to adapt a lot mid-series, so I knew he was probably going to play something very similar. Game number 1, I only talked about the fact that he plays gasless, but basically what his build is to go for an early Roach Warren. Only make like 3 or 4 roaches. Usually they're going to keep him safe against Hellions. Then he gets an amazing amount of drones, like 66 drones, very, very fast. And then his economy is just too big, and then he can own you with a big roach attack. That is basically the main strategy. He doesn't necessarily have to all in with the roach attack. Sometimes he goes for an earlier timing with Ravager. Sometimes it'll be like 1-1 roach. And sometimes he also just goes into the macro game. But the framework of the build stays the same. It's going to be gases expand, takes a fast third, gets a limited amount of queens too, I believe. I think the normal amount of queens is 5. In ZVT, you can go up to 9 as well, depending on the build. So 5 is not a lot. Could even be just 4. But that's basically the idea. No gas, mass eco, only a couple roaches, and then he gets brutal timing attack. So idea number 5 was to go for a proxy starport Hellion drop. And this really is a very cool blind counter to his strategy. The fact I know so much about his strategy is because I actually studied his build once for my Zerg, because I think it's a pretty cool way to play. And I think he has improved it since then, because that's already a good couple months ago. But the idea stays the same. So the way you prevent the Hellions from running into the base is by walling off the front, I think in time for 4 Hellions. So it's probably going to be a Roach Warren over here at some point, or here, doesn't really matter. And then makes 2 evolution chambers. A quick tip for the Zerg players is that often you want to actually full wall it. You can also leave one gap, put the queen inside. What can then happen is that the Reaper can throw the grenade, bounce the queen out of the gap, and then the Hellions still run in. So it has to be a full wall. So what I did this game is I switched up two things. Well, first of all, it's going to be a proxy starport. You can see the SCV on the minimap already. I'm going to build a starport over here as soon as the factory is finished. And I went for gas first. Gas before barracks is not very common at all. The reason why it's good in this case is because the Hellions are a little faster. You basically skip the Marine to get Hellions faster, so he doesn't, or his Overlord doesn't get stopped from entering your base. I know that Elaser doesn't scout with the Overlords too much, or at least previously. This game, it does seem like he is going to scout at some point. Once again, not the most meaningful part of my adaptation here. I just wanted the Hellions to be faster so I could potentially get in before he would be able to block them out. You can see the Overlord's chilling here. He probably saw those Hellions. I'm not quite sure if he did see them or not. The Overlord saw them. I'm not quite sure he did, right? Like the vision was there. Starport's going to go down here. And this is only phase 1 of the build, by the way, just so you guys know. There's going to be some cooler stuff behind this as well. So here you can look at his strategy a little closer. This really is the complete framework that I was talking about. As you can see, faster at hatchery. So far, he has 0 units, besides the 2 queens. Not even a 3rd queen, by the way. So pretty much the literal minimum that you can build, and he's going up to 42 drones already, and I only have 25 workers. Here you can really see the economic potential of his build. Then the Roach Warren is going to be finished in about 15 seconds or so. He has 48 gas right now. He's probably going to have barely enough for 3 roaches when the Roach Warren finishes, and that's going to be the defensive position. But here are those extra fast Hellions, and he indeed does not have the wall off ready yet. Now, I didn't really know how this was going to work out entirely. I'm going to kill 4 drones here, probably one more shot for a couple more, let's see. Yeah, it's going to be 5 drones in the end. In some build orders, you could say that that's a really good amount of damage. Here, I honestly wasn't entirely convinced because I'm still 9 workers down. I lost 1 Hellion. I'm proxying a bunch of stuff on the map, and his Roach Warren is about to finish. So, based on the amount of effort I'm putting into attacking, I would say this is a pretty normal start. Like, it's annoying for him, but I really didn't feel like it was devastating. But here you go. The Hellion drop is coming online. Did he make an... I thought he made an Evo. I probably just tried to wall with it and cancel it later. So notice how he has the units at the front. 4 roaches are about to pop. He didn't see any Hellions at the front, by the way. That's why he didn't wall off. You see how his Overlords are spread? If these Overlords would have seen Hellions, he would have pulled 2 drones, probably from the gas because it's closer, 2 Evos, and that would have kept him safe. There's no drones here yet to protect, so that is nice. But unluckily for him, I had a proxy starport, so these are going to go into the main. This is where I wasn't sure about losing one of the Hellions. If I had 4 Hellions here, that would have been extra nice. Maybe I would have even gone past those roaches to kill the drones, but I only had 3, one of which was low HP. And that's where I was kind of doubting my earlier run by. Now, I saw 3 roaches pop into the main base. I figured that meant that he wouldn't have that many roaches down here. So these Hellions are going to kill another 4 drones, I believe. Maybe 5. Looks like it is going to be 5. Now, I tried to unload these, but I actually got myself into a little bit of a tough spot here. I'm going to lose the medevac. Yeah, I mean, once again, it's kind of similar to Game 1, actually. I would say that the build worked out, just my execution wasn't perfect. Very similar to Game 1, honestly. Like, I think the medevac there should have stayed alive. The Hellions that I lost, it's kind of... You know, it's debatable whether it worked out or not. Like, I think it was an okay trade, but I could have just microed them a little better, but in the end it was okay. Losing the medevac was the worst part of all of it. Now, this is part number 2 of the build, and that is going for the battle cruiser. Remember what I said? He does not build a lot of queens. It's 55 drones, 4 roaches, and 3 queens right now. He makes a lot of drones, a couple roaches to defend the Hellions, and then he just makes 1,000,000 drones off of very little queens. He's not even making an extra queen over here, and that's why the battle cruiser follow-up. Just in case you guys are confused, proxy fusion cores have caused a lot of confusion in the past because battle cruisers can teleport. Teleporting a battlecruiser across is... It's nice that you can do it, but it's not always the best because you don't have the teleport to get out. So what that means is... It's not necessarily against Spire units, right? Like if there's Corruptors, you want to be able to teleport out. That's not really the problem. The problem is that if you teleport in, you have to stop dealing damage pretty early. So if your battlecruiser gets orange health, you already have to fly it away in case there's like more queens approaching and you might barely lose it. If you have the teleport available, you can right-click drones until your battlecruiser is like 30 HP and then get out. Like here, there's no worry at all about my BC taking damage because I know I have the teleport out. That's why it's really good to proxy it. The worst part about proxying is that it's proxied, so it's vulnerable. But the fact that it's close is actually very, very nice. Then the switch up I made at home was that I stopped making Hellions for a bit to get a couple Widow Mines. This is just to defend against a potential couple Roaches coming across. I thought that would be nice. And then the follow-up is going to be into Cyclones. Now, Mass Cyclones is a pretty popular style these days. I'm not actually a massive fan of it. Now, here I made use of his army composition. Weakness of playing Roaches without link speed is that if your units are ever out of position, Hellions can drive by. This is not a problem if you have link speed, because on creep, your links just get back and kill the Hellions, right? So that's not much of a problem. Here, since this is his army, Hellion run-bys are very, very good. I made use of that opportunity, combined with the distraction of the battlecruiser, get a couple more Hellions in, and at this point, I've already killed 32 workers, and it's 7 minutes in-game. Now, once again, here you can see the economic potential of his build, because I've killed 30 workers and he's still up by 6. Now, Zerg does want to be more workers ahead than this because I have mules. I'm only just now saturating this third base, so you can't see it yet. But my economy is slightly better than his right now, and I have the advantage of the BCs, and my production is already quite good. But yeah, I wanted to say Mass Cyclone is a pretty popular style. It's quite strong as well. The Cyclone has like a small bug where the lock-on refreshes a little faster than it should. I actually don't like playing Cyclones that much. This is going to surprise you guys because you might have seen me play Cyclones before. The main reason why I play Cyclones is because it's a very comfortable follow-up no matter what you do. So if you want to go for like real mech, it's a little bit trickier because you need to get upgrades. You can't move out of your base a lot because you'll die in low numbers, stuff like that. Cyclones is just... it's an easy follow-up to do. You don't even necessarily need the upgrade at first, the Mag Field Accelerator, for that to be good. You just need to make Cyclones, and you're going to be pretty okay to fight most things. You do want to be careful because it could be tough against Roach all-ins. In that case, you need to start making some tanks. A little bit of a tip here. Now, I knew that he went for Corruptors. I saw them with the BCs. That amount of Corruptors means that he wasn't able to spend Larva on Roaches, combined with the amount of drones that I killed, right? So I knew that either he would have no drones, and, you know, the attack would fizzle out pretty fast, or he would be rebuilding the drones and he wouldn't have much of an army. I already made a fortress behind it. As you can see, my economy is now taking off. Big amount of Cyclones behind it. And my follow-up for this game is going to be something that I saw Maru do in the Esports World Cup, a strategy that I really liked. So a couple of players, when they play Cyclones, they really play Mass Cyclone. Like I saw Clem play it. I think it looks kind of bad, which... sounds weird to say about a Clem strategy because Clem is, you know, the best Terran player in the world for the last year or maybe even 2 years already. I'm not quite sure. It feels like it's been a while. But he just plays Mass Cyclone and runs around. I don't actually like this very much. Like, I think when Infestors come out, which they inevitably should, he doesn't have them yet. He decided to go for the high first. 1 fungal and you lose 8 Cyclones and they're almost the price of a tank. Like, it's very expensive. I prefer what Maru did, and I also saw Hero Marine do this, which is basically you go 50-50 between tanks and Cyclones, or I should say between tanks and Cyclones and Hellbats on the other side, because the Hellbats are really good against the Lynx, and the tanks are going to be good against everything else until Vipers come online, until there's like a lot of Ravagers, but at least you don't really struggle against simple fungals or surround, stuff like that. Your army's going to be a bit stronger. And if you get the economic advantage like I did in this game, that strategy seemed very, very cool. So that's what I was planning to do this game. First, we get all the eco up. As you can see, I'm already at 86 SCVs. Here you can see it. Infestor. Actually, I'm going to show it from my POV so you can see it. Like, you see the scan. But a lot of time the Infestor is like barely in range. I haven't seen an Infestor yet here. Gonna go for another scan. Still haven't seen an Infestor. I look away, and before I can react, all the Cyclones are fungal, and I'm gonna lose a bunch of this. His army wasn't massive here, so it's not gonna be too many. But that is, yeah, I think you guys could see it very clearly, right? Like, there was absolutely no time to react against the Infestor. I already did 2 scans before. It popped right after. Take a fungal, and I already lose a couple Cyclones. That is the exact reason why I don't like playing Mass Cyclones without making anything else, because you just get owned very easily. And as you can see, tank production started now after I got my economy online. Wait, did I? Okay, let me rezoom out. Well, I really like zooming out when I cast. When I play, I like being on top of things. In fact, you can't zoom out when you're playing, but when I'm casting, I like to zoom out so I can see everything. But that was the plan. I got the eco up, as you can see, going up to 7 command centers, I believe. Or is it 8? Looks like it's about to be 7. 8 factories, and then I can start the mass tank production. The battlecruisers here have basically 0 value at this point. The only value the BCs have is that they can deal with non-anti-air armies when the corruptors aren't near. So let's say Ravagers want to attack over here. The BCs would be good there. Besides that, is mostly going to be a distraction, like I can teleport over here with the PCs at some point. But for now, I just need to stick to the plan, really. Like, so far it's worked out perfectly. Once again, mechanically, not the best game ever by me. I mean, the harassment was good and stuff, but what I'm most happy with is that the strategy worked out perfectly that I decided to do. And now my army is really starting to come together. 94 SCVs. Might be questionable in eyes of many. Most of the time I make that many SCVs. I like to explain this. I do it by accident. It's just so easy for me to just keep pressing the SCV button, right? But when you play Battle Mech in particular, I think it's actually pretty good to make this many. As you can see, it's not like I have a huge bank. I'm maxed. I want to get a trade off, and then I have enough money to just rebuild the army, basically. Like if you play an active style of mech, you never want to just sit back. Your army gets worse and worse over time. Instead, you want to be taking trades. And now, since he didn't have creep because of the active early game, we have a very nice position over here. This trade, I mean, he's going to kill a couple tanks, but it's really not going to be that good for him. And this is where having those Cyclones is really nice. You might also think, why don't you just make tanks and hellbats then, and that's what the kind of army you want? Well, this is what Cyclones are going to be very good at. All those units are going to die for free just because I have the Cyclones that are fast enough to chase them, and then I can send the Cyclones to the top side after. One thing I did poorly this game, if you guys notice that, is that I didn't make that many upgrades. And that's just really a bit of a lack of practice on my side. I feel like sometimes I tend to forget those things. I also remember losing a game in Home Story Cup just because I literally forgot to make my attack upgrade and my units were trading absolutely terribly. Here you can see the BCs. They are really not doing anything here, to be honest. They are just baiting the Corruptor fire, and this is when I decide to sacrifice the BCs. This base is going to go down to the Cyclones, like I said earlier, and these BCs are stopping his mining, you know, making the gap between our economies even bigger. At home, I'm keeping the ratio quite alive. Probably should have made a couple more Cyclones here. Like, I think keeping it 50-50 is really pretty good. I mean, I guess I still have the 8 Hellions, so all in all, it's a very nice army composition. And before you know it, I'm maxed again. I think I have 6 tech labs or something. Yeah, what is that? 6 tech lab factories, so I can make 6 tanks at once, which is pretty freaking crazy. I decided to make a couple Vikings. I guess they don't sound super meaningful, but having Vikings against Vipers can be pretty nice. Like, the thing is, Vipers kill every mech unit they want, right? They abduct tanks, Cyclones, Thors, Vikings, doesn't matter. But if you have Vikings, they're kind of forced to either sacrifice the Vipers or abduct the Vikings instead of the higher value targets. Now, I actually really like this move from Elaser. It's very risky to do it against Cyclones, but he kind of is in a position where he has to do some crazy stuff, so I really like it. But now I'm back into this godly position. I had a couple Hellbats over here. That's why his army was on the left side, by the way. Forgot to show it. Now we have this position. Once again, we're maxed. I went up to 100 SCVs in the meantime. And this game, I think, is a perfect example of why having a high SCV count is good, because I kept approaching max supply with 0 bank and then managing to trade out the army. So yeah, this is fantastic. I think a lot of the times I play these days, especially when I do challenges, sometimes the strategy is a little lacking and I make up for it in mechanics. Here, I was very happy because it was the other way around. It's not necessarily better to either win by mechanics or win by strategy. If you win, you win. But I like to win in the strategy department because, I don't know, maybe it makes me feel smart or something. I'm not quite sure, but it just feels very cool. So this was game number 2 of the best of 5. Let's go to game number 3. All right, for game number 3, I had another completely different strategy planned. I have a build that I really like to do. You guys definitely have seen it before, I think, which is the reactor first into the double medevac drop. So what this looks like is basically, you guys might remember the 2-1-1 from the good old days. This was really popular in the primes of both me and Björn back in 2016, where you get 60 Marines, 2 medevacs, and stim, hit about 5 minutes, and it can be pretty difficult to defend. Nowadays, that build is pretty much figured out, so you don't really see it ever anymore. But this build, I know it sounds the same, because I said 2 medevac drop right from the reactor first. The difference is that you don't have stim. That makes it sound worse. But you hit 30 seconds faster. A lot of Zerg timings are very tight. They know exactly how many drones they can have to defend something, and that's often what makes Zerg feel strong. If you ever play against Zerg and you do an attack, it gets held perfectly, and then later you realize the guy has 30 more drones than you and 5 times more army, that's pretty much what it is. They know exactly how many drones they can make against a certain attack. They hold your attack, their eco just flies, and that's why you always want to be a little... Either you play very economically yourself, or you want to be a little surprising. So that is the build I like to do the most in TVZ these days. Here, I'm going to switch it up and do a build that is very specifically tailored to Elazer's build once again. So, you guys know his build by now, right? No gas, low queen count, goes for the roaches, doesn't make any Zerglings at all. If you guys are wondering how he can get away with making no Zerglings, by the way, it's because he goes for the extractor trick hatchery first with a fast pull before gas. So his queens are in time for the Reaper, right? Normally you get a Reaper in their base, they need Zerglings to defend it. Since his queen is a little faster, it's in time for that. So here, this was a very painful start for Elazer. Didn't seem like it mattered too much for his build, luckily for him. He only got supply block for a little bit. That is a painful start. And here, we're going to do something very, very cool. This is a strat you just don't get to do a whole lot against Zerg, because once again, normally there's Zerglings on the map. Maybe sometimes you figure out that a Zerg doesn't scout there, so you can do it. Here, I do it because... I mean, here he doesn't actually see it. He knows I have a couple Marines, but that is, you know, not too crazy. He's definitely seen me play Reactor first before, and he was probably expecting it in at least one of the games. But even if he did see it, there was no unit to deal with it, right? Like, he could have sent the Queen. 4 Marines do beat a Queen. You can see the timing of the Roach Warren. That Roach Warren is not going to be in time to save this third. So this opening, it's, yeah, very strange. You're really never going to see this in pro games unless it's like a very specifically prepared thing. And here I was able to pull it out, and I was very happy with this decision because, as you can see, this third base is just going to fall. He already decided to go for a replacement third, and then the follow-up behind it is important too. So my follow-up here was to go for Hellions. This actually you have to do in case it's going to be Zerglings, or Zerglings with speed, I should say. So even if you do this against someone who doesn't make roaches, you want to follow this up with the Hellions. Even you could do this attack without the bunker too. You want to follow it up with Hellions. And then I'm going to go for Banshees behind it because I knew I was probably going to lose these Marines or at least take some damage on them. And then I needed a Banshee to defend the potential counterattack, right? So this was what I decided to do. Pretty much sacrifice these Marines so I could get in with the Hellions and do a significant amount of damage. He decides to chase the Marines, which does leave his base open against these Hellions driving by. 6 workers are going to die so far. And this is just, yeah, I don't want to, you know, toot my own horn here too much. But once again, the strategy works out perfectly. Very happy with that. Now, since his build, it is pretty confusing to play against his build, I have to admit, because often you deal so much damage. Like, look at the situation right now. I have killed 9 workers and a third base. Yet he has 3 more workers than me, and he already has a lair on the way as well as 3 gases. Like, his build is so well timed out and so economical that even doing a lot of damage, you kind of feel like, okay, I should win this game almost for free from this point on. Doesn't really end up being the case. That's also a reason why I really like this build myself, and I wanted to do it for my Zerg. Now, I had another good strategy here, and this is going to be very painful for him. So what I realized is his roaches were chasing my Marines earlier. So I took the 4 Hellions I was making extra, clicked them around the map, and then I'm going to be able to sneak into his drone line. Banshee at home is going to take care of all those roaches. I think I didn't even lose an SCV there, and this is going to put me in a fantastic position. Now here you can already see what his build is going to be. Overlord speed, that is not because he wants to scout what I'm doing. Oh, this is what happened. I remember this moment. I was like, wait, did I just micro the Banshee so poorly that it went past his roach? No, there was another stray roach over here. Okay. I really thought I just sent the Banshee in a very poor path, but there was another one. Now, I can't believe that he's still up in drones at this point. Like, I know they literally just finished. If you look at the income tab, it's not going to have counted yet. But that is crazy. But yeah, like I mentioned, Overlord speed is not going to be for scouting. It is going to be for a queen drop. Sounds like a really dumb strategy. You've never seen it before, but I actually love queen drops. The reason why you want to do a queen drop is because 2 queens are perfectly fine at dealing with 2 banshees, especially with transfuse, which you can get from the Overlord dropping creep. For the people confused by that comment, you need creep to transfuse now. Queens can no longer transfuse off creep. Now, this was the most uThermal Zerg thing I've ever seen. He didn't have more queens, I believe. Yeah, just 2 queens. And he actually used them to counter my banshees. Once again, looks a little silly, and I don't think it's a good counter, but it was also the only thing he could do. Now, this is kind of fascinating. Look at this. Apparently, Overlord Dropper Micro with queens works perfectly because they shoot one time, and then they go... Like, it times out perfectly. Like, this is very cool. I'm not going to be surprised if we ever see this again. Like, maybe Cero, I know he liked to do... queen drop with roach attacks before. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that again. But yeah, we are up 19 workers. We have a fantastic position. Though, let me stop at this moment. There is a downside to giving away so many units for drones, and that's that I didn't have anything yet. I'm going to tell you guys what my mistake was this game. It's pretty clear to me now I watch this. Is that I made too many Hellions. And admittedly, it was kind of by autopilot. I only wanted to make 6 Hellions. I kind of fumbled the macro behind it a little bit. Macroing while attacking as Terran can be a little challenging because you have to fly buildings over, right? It's not just making buildings. You have to put the barracks on the reactor, make a tech lab with this, put the tech lab on another building, etc. So I just fumbled the macro a little bit, basically. I wasn't fast enough. I don't know if I was a little jittery from playing on LAN or whatever, but that was my mistake. So here, I should have had a decent amount more Marines instead of the Hellions. And just in case you guys get confused, I like to clarify as much as I can. Even if I didn't sacrifice the last 4 Hellions, it wouldn't have been good on the defense. Even if he has Lings, Hellions don't do well against this, because you really need the Hellions right on top of the Zerglings. Otherwise, they shoot a Ravager or a Roach, or even if you target Lings, it's never really that efficient, so they wouldn't have been good on the defense anyway. I really wanted to have Marines instead, basically. Now, like I mentioned, the Queens counter the Banshee, so having the Banshee at home wouldn't have done anything for me. Instead, I'm just flying through his bases, dodging the 1 Queen he has at home. Now here, let me actually go back, because this was kind of a crucial moment here in this attack. First, he biles the first tank. We saw this so far. I get my 2 Vikings out. Now here, I unsiege the tank. I saw the Ravagers move forward. I thought he was going to bile the tank. So that was a little bit of a mistake by me. I could have gotten a lot more damage on those roaches, but instead I didn't. Now here, I made the best move in the situation. I messed up first, and then obviously you have to rectify that mistake. I drone drilled, that's usually what it's called, SCV drilled with my SCVs. If you want to know how to do that, you just click all of them on this patch and they go through units or any mineral patch. And that allowed me to get a pretty decent trade against them. At this point, you might think the worker count is even, but realistically this game is completely over and GG has to be called. Yeah, I'm just going to clarify this as well. I feel like I've said it a couple times now, but if you guys are wondering why, I have double upgrades against no upgrades. I have 3 command centers, I have 5 barracks, and I am probably in like a 10 times better spot compared to him. Like this game, there's really no doubt about it. This could be Cyril and I would win 100 out of 100 times. I think maybe one time my internet DCs and one time I get hungry and go for a snack and then I might still win. But there you go, a 3-0 against the Laser, the rank 4 Zerg player in Europe. And it was really all strategical. Looking back at it now, I think my harassment was very, very good, especially with the Banshee over here. Like, this thing has 20 kills. The Hellion run-bys were pretty good. Overall, not ultra impressed with myself mechanically. Reaper Micro in the first game was not that great. The macro game in this game was not that great. Really could have been a better follow-up, but the strategies all worked. And yeah, I really just wanted to give you guys a glimpse, a little bit of in-depth analysis on how I decide strategies to beat a certain opponent. Obviously, this is very specifically against a Laser's build, but I can't really, show you how to do it against literally everyone, because that would be an infinite time video, though I'm sure some of you absolute demons would still watch it. But there you go. Let me know what you thought of this series. If you guys like this, I'll do it again at some point in the future whenever I have another banger series where the strategies really link up quite well. Right now, I'm struggling a lot against Protoss, so I'm probably going to have to do some deep dive on how to beat Protoss, then I can share those findings with you as well. But that's going to be it for today. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this new kind of video. If you did, give a video a like, subscribe to the channel, and see y'all for the next video. Adios.